How the heretics! So this is live disassociation, and today Kim Asadourian will disassociate from God's one true religion. And this is fun because you've already been disfellowshipped once for having sex with her husband, to whom she
Yes.
was scripturally married. That's a new one. So she's going to tell that
Yeah,
story
it was
later. But she was literally
very
disfellowshipped for having
unusual.
sex to the person
Yeah.
she was scripturally married to. But Kim, tell us, why would you leave God's one true organization, and how? Why did you join it? We can start with that.
Well, I joined it. I was about 25. Some people came to my door one day, and I opened it and started an argument. I thought I knew more than they did. Turned out they knew a lot more than I did, and I was very impressed by it. So I invited them in, and they had a lot of things to show me from the Bible that I didn't know was in the Bible, and I was just very impressed by it, and started a Bible study in the Live Forever book, and pushed for baptism about 5 months later, and
Hmm.
that's how I came into this religion. It was great for the first, I'm going to say, 5 years, maybe. It was good. I had a happy experience as a Jehovah's Witness for about 5 years, and then the impingement began. Um, the impingement from the elders and other people, other friends in the Kingdom Hall into my personal life and my marriage. And when
Because
that
you were married and you had
yeah,
3 kids when you joined the religion, and you were in your
yes,
mid 20s.
that's right. I was already married, an adult, had 3 kids when I joined this religion. So the term that the witnesses use is unbelieving husband, and so I had an unbelieving husband, and they made it their mission to try to convert him, and it really caused a lot of problems in my marriage. It that's that's really all I can say is that it was just devastating in a way. So
They can't really back off. It's like
no,
either with us or without us, and if you're not interested, we don't care.
right, no,
You
they
know.
can't back off. They can't. They if they were to back off, then I guess they'd feel that they were blood guilty. Another
Yeah.
Jehovah's Witness term. So
But
no, they didn't.
a question, because normally, because I'm a brother, so we were trained to recruit unbelieving husbands. And I
Right,
remember from the neighbor congregation, a friend of mine, they made a list of 5 unbelieving husbands, and then they made a list of their hobbies, and he had to read up on these hobbies. So they had something. So he studied this, he studied that. He learned
right,
about, I don't remember, let's say beekeeping. So one
right,
of
right.
he'll learn about beekeeping, and then he would go and say, "Hello, would you like to talk to me about not the Bible but beekeeping?" And he actually managed to recruit one of the unbelieving husbands. But I think
It's
it's
so
disingenuous,
dishonest.
because as soon as you are roped into the Jehovah Witness cult, no more beekeeping.
That's
We're
right.
living in the last days.
Yep,
It's important to give all
yep.
time and energy to Watchtower.
Right. You do the beekeeping on the other side of Armageddon.
Yeah.
But it's just so dishonest. In my case, the elders didn't try that with my husband because they wouldn't have liked any of his hobbies.
Okay.
He had some strange hobbies, but I did witness that happening in my congregation. I'm very well aware of it. In fact, sisters did it. We all did it. We all pretended to be interested in somebody's hobbies or somebody's life, or being friends with somebody that we wanted to start a Bible study with, all to recruit. The whole
Yeah.
objective was to recruit, not to make friends. And
Yeah.
and that's what happened to me once I was recruited. Um, I really wasn't friend material. No matter how hard I tried, I wasn't that friend material to a lot of the witnesses, and I knew that, and I felt it every time I went to the meetings. I felt it and I knew it, but it wasn't something that ever really came to the surface. It was just underneath the surface where I felt it, and I never really articulated it in any way. It was just kind of there, but pushed in the background. And
Mm.
uh, when when you wake up to this being a cult, and being a destructive ungodly cult, you look back and you realize, oh my God, that's what this was. That's what they did, and it's horrifying.
Yeah, because
It,
you said you did not bring your kids to the meetings.
yeah, I didn't bring my kids to the meetings on a regular basis because I just couldn't force them to go. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
If I forced them, I felt it was abusive. And their dad would say, if you want to stay home, stay home. You don't have to go and sit in this, 2 hour long or 1 hour and 45 minute long boring meeting. Stay home, and they'd be happy to stay home. I mean, they're little kids, who wouldn't? And so
Yeah.
I just could not force my kids to go to the meetings. And I tried a couple of times, and I just couldn't keep doing it. I felt it was wrong and abusive. So I didn't.
The witnesses call that opposition from an unbelieving husband, and it's kind of a narcissistic way to
Could
say
be.
it, because first thing, just because you don't believe the same as Watchtower doesn't mean you're unbelieving. You might believe in democracy. You might believe in he's
Right.
not a drone, but you actually believe that people are kind of drones when they're not witnesses. And secondly,
Yes.
it's not opposition to ask the kids what they want to do. That would be free will, free
Right.
agency,
Yeah.
something that even God approve of sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But I
Because
did.
I'm pretty sure if one of your kids, maybe the girl, say, I really like God, I really like to go to Kingdom Hall, it's the best thing in my life, your husband would be okay with that.
Yeah, I think he would have been okay with it.
Yeah.
He
Just my point,
never.
it's not opposition, it's just
Yeah.
parenting 101 kind of.
Right. I agree. And I did sit them down and study. We made attempts to have these organized Bible studies out of a publication that the elders would recommend. I did read them stories out of that yellow My Book of Bible Stories. So, I tried to do some stuff at home with them, but by the time they became, I'm going to say, just before their teenage years, that was when I just kind of gave up entirely. It was just me. And,
Yeah.
I would do the occasional informal witnessing to my kids, or maybe read them a scripture, maybe a daily text. But I was done trying to recruit my kids into the organization. And it weighed heavily on me. I mean, I had a lot of guilt for that. It would be brought up in the meetings constantly in the Watchtower studies about parents being responsible for directing their kids, with the arrows going and, shooting your arrows in the right direction. And every time
Yeah.
I would sit through one of those studies, I would just have so much guilt. And I felt like, oh, they're all looking at me. You're bad. You're the bad mother.
Because
So
when we talk about this, I go back into the Jehovah Witness mindset.
right,
It will always be a part of me. And
yeah,
I feel when I'm talking to you now that you're a bad person and I'm a good person. I am right now, I'm sorry, but I'm just admitting it. I am
yeah. No,
judging you
I
and feel
understand.
that I'm a better apostate than you. You're a bad apostate slash witness, because
Yeah, I
you had an unbelieving husband, but you did not drag your kids to the meeting and beat them up and had secret studies behind your
never.
husband's back and all these theocratical warfare a good witness is supposed to do. So
Right,
my impression of you, like from my gut, my indoctrination that's still there, I feel like you're kind of a bad association. If I would meet you, I would try to encourage you to do more for
right.
Jehovah and remind you that it's your fault that your kid's going to die in Armageddon. That's how I feel when we talk. I'm sorry, I
Right.
cannot turn it off completely.
No, I completely understand because I have the indoctrination myself still, and I still feel the guilt. So I don't know how to excise that out of my psyche. Maybe doing this and just keep researching. I do a lot of research. I research almost every day about the history of this cult, all the things that I wasn't told when I was studying. And I have this book. I kept this book, the Live Forever book. This is the book I studied in. And I was looking through it a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And almost everything in this book is no longer taught. It's all old light. Or it's all, they don't teach it anymore. It's timed out. You know, these prophecies, the generation prophecies, they all timed out. And so, you know, just reminding myself of the history of this organization and the false predictions, all these things help a lot. But I think I'll always have that indoctrination, like
Yeah.
you.
But I'm just thinking, your husband did not join the cult. Your kids were not really interested, but you know,
No.
they were probably nice to you and respected your. And then, so they were kind of what I would say today is normal, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then the witnesses constantly describing them, and your own brainwashing describing them as worthy of death.
Yeah.
That puts some stress on relationship, you know.
Absolutely.
When you actually believe, you look at your kids and say, you deserve to die.
Right.
And it's my fault, and my friends are judging me.
Right.
It puts a lot
that
of
was
strain
really
on.
Tough. That was very, very difficult because it wasn't just my own children and my husband, it was my whole family. I mean, it was hard to walk around thinking they're all going to die. And in some weird way, I even treated them like they were already dead. If that's even possible to. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. And it caused relationship problems because I wasn't very kind person. I think Watchtower took the worst elements of my personality and magnified them and inflated them, because I wasn't a very kind person to worldly people. They were already dead in my mind, you know? And boy, when I woke up...
I've seen how people handle to be in combat. At one point, you just give up and you see yourself as dead already.
Right.
And you just fight for your comrades, you know, and you just assume that I'm dead, and you can't handle the life and death thing. So you just assume that things are dead. You shoot the Germans, they are bags of potatoes, so I don't kill them, it just make the bag to tip over. You create all these things to handle the situation. As a kid, I thought I would die in Armageddon, and it was the moment when I accepted that I would die in Armageddon that I felt good about myself.
Yeah. It's so
because
crazy.
Before that, you have this constant stress, and when you realize I'm a bad boy, God hates me, I don't know why, but he's right about everything, and he's gonna kill me. Oh, now everything makes sense, and I pioneered for 10 years because I thought I can save other people.
Yeah. You Watchtower really
does. Sorry, I just have to say, don't be too hard on yourself for treating your kids that way. It is a coping mechanism, and you're not the first one.
Yeah, it is, and there is some relief when you, like, when I was disfellowshipped. I remember, you know, being in the judicial committee meeting, and then, you know, telling me to go out of the room and then come back. After you know, half hour, I went back in there, and they informed me I was being disfellowshipped. And I cried because I thought, well, I have to cry, you know, they're expecting me to do that. But when I got home, I was so relieved that I didn't have to do it anymore. I didn't have to be on this treadmill of constant, it was like constant work, because, and I think JT might have said this on his channel. He said, you're only as good as your last meeting, or you're only as good as your last time in service.
Yeah.
And that's how it was. And I was like, okay, kill me, you know, kill me, God. I'm done, and I'm relieved. And it was amazing.
Yeah, I remember all the meetings. They were reading from the Old Testament. It was like someone served Jehovah faithfully for 500 years, and then they did one mistake, and that was one commandment, like Moses with the stone and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
It's not a loving God. Well, it's not a real God, but you get
It's
this
not.
idea. You do one mistake and it's all erased.
It's all over. Yeah, you do one thing and it's all over, and they don't have any mercy or any programs that help people with emotional problems. They don't encourage psychological help. Oh, they try to say, well, it's your decision, but then they telegraph to you through the meeting, through the literature in the meetings that not to go and get worldly therapy. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a really, really messed up cult. And yet after I was disfellowshipped, I pressured my husband for us to get remarried because I wanted to be reinstated. And
Yeah. Could you just tell this story, because
yeah, yeah,
uh, you had marital problems and you
right.
separated from your husband.
Yeah, we got a divorce.
You got a divorce, and
Yes.
according to Jehovah Witnesses, the Shepherd of the Flock book, you were not free to remarry, and this is a big deal. If you
Yeah.
read the Shepherd of the Flock book, this is the secret
The
Jehovah
secret
Witness
book.
Elder manual. It talks about different
It's
sins,
so
but it's
ridiculous.
like eh, it's a big book, but I guess like 10% of it talks about if you're free to remarry, how to
Yeah.
decide if someone's free to marry, how to spy, how to keep illegal notes, and all of this. Like theft and murder is just one sentence,
Right. Yeah.
but
It's so yeah, I
it's
pressured
real.
him. We got
But
remarried. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, sorry. But you were, according to them, still married to your husband because you were not scripturally free to remarry, and you moved back to the person you were, according to Jehovah, married to. But then you were
Right.
disfellowshipped for fornication because
Yeah, because
it's the
we were
weirdest.
shacking up.
I heard a lot, but that's the weirdest thing I ever heard, because you were
Yeah.
disfellowshipped for doing the right thing.
Well, we were not married and we were living together. So anyway, I
Yes, but you were married in quote unquote the
right.
eyes
Yeah.
of Jehovah.
In the
And
eyes of.
Watchtower believe that the eyes of Jehovah is
I
what
know.
matters.
Right. I know. So I pressured him for us to get remarried. I mean, we were together anyway, so we did get remarried, and that was a good thing. And so I wanted to be reinstated so bad. I mean,
Why
I
did you
was
want to be really reinstated?
because I just wanted my friends back. I was lonely. I didn't have any friends. All the friends I made were all Jehovah's Witnesses, and I just wanted I wanted that, and I still believed in some of the doctrines. I still believed that we were living in the last days. I still believed in the resurrection. I still, there was a lot of stuff that I believed in, and I didn't really have another religion that I felt I could turn to. And Jehovah
Yeah.
was the only God I I knew, and what they taught about Jesus Christ was the only way I knew who Jesus was. So I wanted to go back to that, and so it took a long time. It took me years to get reinstated because I was always leaving the country. We had gone to Europe many times, Paris, Italy. We were always gone, and so I would have these big chunks of time where I wasn't at the meetings because I was overseas abroad. And finally, actually, right before the pandemic started, I started going to the meetings, and then when the pandemic started and everything transitioned to Zoom, then it was easier for me to attend meetings regularly because now I could do it remotely. And I ended up getting reinstated, but the reinstatement process was just so convoluted and ridiculous. It was just, I would get text messages saying, we can't consider your letter of reinstatement request because we can't do it over Zoom, and we can't do it at the Kingdom Hall. And I was like, what is this? And so I went on the internet and I started looking into like if there was anybody else out there who couldn't get reinstated because they couldn't get it done on Zoom and they couldn't go to the Kingdom Hall, because I couldn't be the only one. And I stumbled across Lloyd Evans's videos on YouTube, and I started watching Lloyd Evans's videos. That was before I found you. You were next, and then a couple others, Kim and Mikey and JT. And anyway, I started watching his videos, and about 3 days later, I was like, "Oh my God, this is a cult. This is a this this is a false religion." And they
3
hadn't.
days and the penny dropped.
Yes. And then it came time for my reinstatement announcement, and I was like, I don't want to be in this religion anymore, and they're going to reinstate me in 2 days or something like that. It was coming up, and so I had to make a decision, and I just let him go ahead and reinstate me. So I got reinstated, and then I was a PMO. So I did this PMO physically and mentally out, and until I couldn't stand it any longer. I about, I don't know, 5 months. I was like, I can't fake this. Even if I try, I can't fake it. So I wrote an email and I said, I'm done with this. And I wrote a couple of reasons why. I cited the Australian Royal Commission and Jeffrey Jackson's testimony, how just abhorrent it was. I cited calling themselves clergy after years of telling me they didn't have clergy. Now they have clergy because they want to invoke clergy privilege in some of their court cases. So now they're clergy. And I mean, these things are just, to me, in my view, were just lies. Just lies.
How long did the reinstatement process take? Like from let's cut them some slack, and let's say you skipped meeting a while in the beginning, but like when you said, I want to be, you showed that you want to stay and you want to come back, and from the first moment when you,
well,
how long time did it take? To
be fair, I had requested reinstatement 3 or 4 years earlier, and then I started getting into some lifestyle habits that I couldn't. They wouldn't have reinstated me anyway, you know. And so I told them, listen, I'm kind of withdrawing my request because I have these things to take care of. And then I did. I took care of it, and then I started again writing the letters. And so I think from that point on, it took about 1 year to get reinstated. I'm going to say about a year, maybe a little longer. So yeah, I just, you know, just the lies that this organization has told, the lies about its history, the lies about 1975. I spent 27 years in this organization and never heard of 1975 until I woke up.
Huh? You never heard about it?
Never heard about it. Didn't know anything about it until I started watching Lloyd Evans videos, and then eventually I came upon it. It was inevitable, and I was horrified. I mean, I couldn't believe that people's lives were ruined, and then there was Watchtower saying, it's your fault because you believed what we said. I just couldn't believe it. And then I read Crisis of Conscience, which, bless Ray Franz, he's a gift to the world, I think. I read that book, and wow, I mean, I was just slayed by what was in that book.
Yeah, it really so sad. You woke in 3 days. Wow, you're my hero. Years for me, still income to president. Yeah,
it was fast, but I was already turned off by the convoluted reinstatement process. So I was already like, what is this? Because weird thing. So
the reinstatement process should be, if you look at in the Bible, I get the feeling when you read Corinthians that Paul wrote 1 letter every quarter, because in the first Corinthian he refers to the earlier letters, so there must have been early letters, and there are 3 months between them, and I get the feeling that this was a quarterly letter, he said, like a newsletter, and this guy was basically automatically reinstated after 3 months, you know. So the Jehovah Witness process really have nothing in the Bible. And I remember when I was a pioneer in Trondheim, you had all these people that wanted to come back to the so-called truth, but they were not reinstated. And we were out here starting this new congregation, and we had a friend of mine who was an elder. I was never an elder, actually. But he was very nice. So as soon as someone came here and said, you want to be reinstated? Okay. So that's why we have a congregation, because people we had like this nice Christian vibe about this place. And if you needed forgiveness, of course you get it. And you just got... So people would basically move out here to be reinstated. So that was a very nice and loving congregation until Watchtower discovered this and changed the elder with someone that I would describe as a very...
Yeah, I know. It's just...
But sorry, I just need to get it in my head. You were disfellowshipped for being with your husband that was your husband in the eyes of Jehovah, and that's the only thing that matters. So if it's just a formality, you should really be reinstated automatically the next meeting as soon as you came with a marriage license.
Well, again, just to be fair, while I was out, my lifestyle wouldn't have qualified me to be reinstated, because I started living the way I wanted to live. I started doing things I wanted to do, and it wasn't compatible with being a Christian. So I mean, I can't just say, yeah, we got married, so here I am, reinstate me. When I first got disfellowshipped, when I went home and really thought about it, I did feel this sense of relief. And I kind of liked not having somebody, calling me all the time, or getting into my life all the time, or asking me personal questions, and being under that microscope, I guess. Because when you're a Jehovah's Witness, you are living under a microscope, and your life is micromanaged by the elders and even by the pioneer sisters and your friends. Your life is micromanaged. And when I got rid of that, I felt relief. I felt a lot of relief. And so, yeah, I did want to come back into the organization, because to me it was my spiritual home. It was my only connection to who I thought God was and who I thought Jesus Christ was. It was my only connection to hope and having a religion in my life. And it was just so funny that when I finally got reinstated, I was like, no, I don't want this anymore. This is evil. This religion is built on a foundation of secrecy, and the secret elders book that I didn't know existed until I woke up. All these secret letters that would come in, and the elders would read, one part to the congregation, but then they had this whole other part of these letters that were secret. And I mean, it was just so many things.
It's okay to have some secrets, that just makes sense. But the level of secrecy, and also theocratical warfare, that brothers are allowed to, elders are allowed to lie to ministerial servants are allowed to. You basically can lie.
Yeah, and they can lie under oath. I mean, they were sworn in on. I think they were sworn in on a New World Translation, weren't they? At the Australian Royal Commission, and their testimony, they lied under oath. And
I would say
I will never get.
They start redefining things, like
they do.
Geoffrey Jackson said when they asked him about, is it okay for Jehovah's Witnesses to have a Christmas decoration? He said, that's not my area of expertise. You could argue that that's not a lie. Like, I am a window cleaner. That's my area of expertise. So if you ask me, do I have a blue shirt? I could say that's not my area of expertise. But if I do this with malintent, in court, it do constitute a lie, because you're not allowed to say something that's technically true. But I think it's one thing when you're a witness and you accept the idea that everyone else is walking zombies because they don't understand what we understand. You start thinking about not only as dead, but stupid.
Right. Yeah, very much so. I did feel that way about people who, especially people who may have gotten a witness at some time in their life and rejected it for whatever reason. It's like, are you stupid? You just, I mean, when I was a witness, we just had this terrible judgmental attitude towards people, and
it is collective narcissism. So
yeah,
and
and
when we talk to each other in the echo chamber, we are okay with this way of lying. Like Jeff, no, what you call him, Anthony Morris said on the convention that it's okay to say that refer to the Bible as an ancient poet. Well, it is technically correct, but but it's childish to make a point of that, and then they go on and say that apostates are, I'm an apostate, and they say that apostates are scheming and tricking people and not telling the truth. Well,
it's crazy.
If I would say, like, if I talk to Jehovah Witness and they ask me, I always say that my grandparents were Jehovah Witnesses, just so they know why I have knowledge without scaring them away. I'm not there to break down their faith, but maybe I don't want to be shunned every day I meet a Jehovah Witness. So you say that. Does that make me a bad person? Well, in court, I would not say that under oath. I would say that I am a disfellowshipped ex-Jehovah Witness. So I don't think they are better than us, the witnesses. The apostates say things that are little like this sometimes, but they do the same.
Yeah, I agree.
Peter Svensk. Tack ska du ha, Peter. It's a Swedish. It means Peter Swedish, so I assume he speaks Swedish. So tack ska du ha.
Oh no, I don't. He may, but I think Svensk does not mean Swedish. Is that what you just said? It means
in Swedish. That's how the adjective I would describe myself as. I am Swedish. Jag är svensk.
Okay, yeah.
So, but it might be a soldier name. Here it says, "Thank you for providing a glimpse into this cult. We love and support you, Kim. We can love completely what we cannot completely understand. Norman MacLean, A River Runs Through It, and other stories." Yes, thank you. Peter Svensk.
Yeah, it was quite a wild ride, being a witness, and the damage is still there, and I don't know.
I can't help thinking that you must have been very lonely.
Incredibly. I was trying to live in two worlds and living in neither, and I couldn't, because I couldn't be entirely in one or entirely in the other. So I was very lonely. I had a lot of marriage problems, a lot of personal, emotional problems, and this cult bore down on me heavily. I also have a lot of guilt about not providing for my children when I should have, because I didn't provide for them in some certain ways, because Armageddon was always supposed to be, next week, or what they always say is soon. It's always soon. And so why put a lot of money in A, B, or C? Because that's all going to be taken care of on the other side. And and now
you get new teeth in after Armageddon, like my parents.
Right now we're looking at the consequences of that. 27 years later.
Yeah. But I guess because I'm running all these scenarios, Jehovah Witness scenarios, where I was a brother in your congregation, and none of these scenarios is a scenario where I'm proud of. I might have been kind of trying to love bomb your husband. That's the best scenario I can think how I would act toward you. But all the other ones would be like kind of condescending, and you would only be invited to a party if you would bring your kids, and we would let you know that you're not welcome unless you bring them.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I had a couple of friends that were close to, they befriended me. I had some people that they really did try, and there were some good people at,
Yeah.
in the congregation. It wasn't all bad, but it was just overarching feeling of just never quite a witness, never quite one of them. And
I'm
again, I
glad
made
you met people that are better than me.
so
I would have
that's
been
it for me.
condescending.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you. Thanks for having me on here. And I just want to say, my name is Kim Asadourian, and I disassociate from Watchtower
Yeah,
and from the Jehovah's Witnesses entirely.
I have Gavel is the English name. So
Okay.
Kim Asadourian is no longer one of Jehovah Witnesses.
And I am very relieved and happy.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. But I just want to know what do your husband say about this?
Oh,
You joined a cult, and I guess the cult were that your elders were often lovingly reminding you that your husband is a potential threat.
um, yeah, because I shared a lot of stuff with them. I mean, I sought out their advice many times, and they knew what some of the things I was dealing with. But at the same time, they wanted to recruit him. They wanted to bring him in, and so it just was a really difficult situation. But as far as my leaving or whether I'm in or out, he doesn't say much about that. He's got other things, that he thinks about and worries about that don't involve my religious choices. So, you know, what the fact that I got out of it and disassociated was kind of like, okay, there wasn't really a lot of talk about it. And then, we just moved on with our lives. We just moved on.
Yeah. Well, that's the best thing to do. By the way, you talk about the religion is changing, and I have a shitload of papers from Watchtower here. How do you say?
Yeah.
There. And they are painting themselves into corner again. And I actually believe that they will be legally forced, according to the argument they're doing, they're legally forced to change their name. So I made a video about this because the only thing, there are legal arguments that they try to hide, and if you look at it, basically they need to change their name. So I made a video about it, so it's available for my patrons now.
Yeah.
But it will be on the channel soon. But then I think also changing their name, like the Mormons did, is a smart thing, because let me know what you think is a good name for Jehovah Witnesses, the Watchtower religion, to change to.
Okay.
But I think Yahweh's Association of New Light would be.
That's very good. That's very appropriate, because I think they subsist on New Light, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean,
but then they can also say, whatever you say about 1975 or 1940, that wasn't us.
Right. Oh, because they're a different organization now.
Yeah. That was the Jehovah Witnesses.
Yeah. That's kind of like Garrett Loesch saying that he doesn't have anything to do with the corporation of Jehovah's Witnesses or CCJW or whatever it was he said. Yeah. How easy?
Rebranding
Just change your name.
For them. I'm pretty sure I made a video about it. It will be available soon, but I always give my patrons, or not always, try to give them, but they will change the name for legal reasons.
Yeah, I think so, because I think they have 6, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they have 6 corporate names right now. And
I think they have at least 20, but then you
that
get
many?
then you get new ones in every country.
Oh,
but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the religion itself.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Instead of calling themselves Jehovah Witnesses, they'll come up with something else, like the Mormons did. You're a member of the Church of the Jesus Christ Saints Latter-day Days, blah blah blah. Really long and terrible name. And I think they're going to do it. So I don't know what we're going to call ourselves soon. Association of New Light. So I put I put a link here if someone wants to call in and disassociate now in the last moment, the last days of the live streams. So
And the final part of the final part of the last days of the last days.
Final part of the final part. But
Yeah.
you never heard about 1975. And
I did
this
not know
reminds me,
about 1975 until I woke up, and I was
that's incredible.
absolutely, yeah, I was like, what? I mean, I could not believe that that happened, and how it just harmed so many people.
It is disingenuous because a Christian is supposed to openly admit your wrongdoings and move on. So,
And I think there's a little blurb of it in the Proclaimer's book, and I just never came across it. I just never encountered 1975 for whatever reason. I don't know, but it was shocking when I found out about it and I read all the details about it. I was like sickened by it, really.
yeah, I remember 1975 because people would say it in field service all the time, and my father used to say that we never said so. And he did this theocratical warfare. He said, you cannot find in the literature any place that says, we know for certain that Armageddon will come in 1975. And that's true. You cannot find that sentence. And that's...
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but then when after baptism, he told me that we did say that Armageddon would come in 1975, and that he himself used to tell people that he would leave the religion if Armageddon don't come in 1975. And then they said, but it's just a few years, and God created Adam first, and then when Eve has, the 6,000-year birthday, then Armageddon will come. So now
I touched on that too.
Adam has been single for 45 years now, if this story was be true.
I couldn't believe it. And, their history and all the other false predictions, and who was it where they borrowed the theology from? Remember the big disappointment of, I think,
they were Miller.
Yeah, there you go.
1843, 1844, and then they moved it to 1874, and that also...
And then 1875. Yeah.
And so they believe that Jesus came invisibly in 1874.
Right.
And in 1878, half the week, they would be raptured to heaven. So when Rutherford sold his business, witnesses say, he sold his business because he was talking about 1914. No, he sold the business in, I think it was 1876, because in 1878 he would be raptured. So the whole premise for selling the business was not he was probably a nice guy, let's give him that, but it was a 2-year perspective he had. He believed in the rapture within 2 years.
Yeah,
and then when it didn't happen, they just redid it to 1914, and also did not happen.
And these are material facts that are withheld from Jehovah's Witnesses that would have a material impact on deciding whether to join the cult. So I think it's misrepresentation. And had this stuff been in the Live Forever book, I can't say I would have joined. I can't say.
That's a good point.
But it wasn't in there.
It's
it wasn't
an excellent
in there.
point for a class action lawsuit.
That's what I'm saying.
Our friends, the ex-Mormons, they actually did this because they pay, so it's easier to measure when you paid. We just suffer and waste our time, and you can't get time back. You can get money back. So ex-Mormons have an easier thing, because they said if we were giving the information like the first vision when God picked out Joseph, there's several versions of it that don't make any sense. So it's obviously a fake story. And then he married 14-year-old girls, and all of this is... So some people said, if you have given me the correct information, I will never be a Mormon. So thank you very much. I want my money back. Yeah. So what the Mormon church have done now, they call it the gospel topics. It's a very name. You don't really know what it is, but that's information about Joseph Smith having sex with 14-year-old girls and all the bad stuff out in the open, but really sugar-coated. But it's there. And if you go to the LDS webpage and try to find it, you can't find it. but it's there. You have to click on a link and click on a link and click on a link and click on a link.
You have to know what you're looking for.
Yeah, I think you have to click 14 links in a special way to find it. But that is just so any future Mormon that want their money back can say, no, everything was available. But if you want to find the gospel topics, you actually have to go to Reddit and find links, because it's impossible to find it in the LDS. But Watchtower don't like losing money, so I wonder what they will do with this. Because
it's hard
we
to say
could take a lawsuit the same way as these Mormons did.
And there's more damages out there than just money damages. There's other types of damages. Yeah, you can't get time back, but there are other types of damages that can be sued for besides just money. And when I first woke up, I was really thinking strongly about a class action lawsuit. Like, what if somebody stepped forward and did this? You know, I would definitely add my name to it. I don't know. I don't know how that stuff works, but
yeah, I tried, and I don't have the time to do everything. Hello, Mark Anthony Joyce.
It's hard.
Hey, how are things? Kim, congratulations.
Thank you.
Happy for you.
Yeah.
So she woke up in 3 days. How many days did you use, did you say, Mark?
I would count it in thousands, to be quite honest. So, it's bizarre to me. It's bizarre to me.
It is.
How's like the contrast, like the huge difference that people experience, not just coming into the cult, but like waking up from the cult, and not only that, but like the plethora of different experiences and worldviews that people experience when they come out. I mean, it's fascinating to me. I mean, it only can every time I watch like a video like this, when when Jonas is like talking to someone, or Boyd Evans is talking to someone, or like Jexit is like talking to someone, and I'm thinking this every single experience coming in and coming out of the cult is just like so unique, isn't it? It's fascinating to me.
Everybody has their reason for waking up, and what it comes down to is just realizing what kind of organization Watchtower really is. And it's traumatizing when you realize it. You're like, oh my gosh, 27 years of my life.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky. I mean, I've read in the comment section that people have been in it 70 years and waking up. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
So no. So I spoke to Kim, and she said that, that's a kind of classic. You're out, and then you want to come back, and you do the whole reinstatement process, and then when you finally get to be reinstated, you leave. That's kind of a classic. You don't stop the reinstatement process for whatever reason. You push forward all just to prove that you can. And I've seen many witnesses that are in the religion, PMOs, that before leaving, they apply to be pioneer, and they pioneer for half a year or a year, just to prove that it's nothing wrong with me. And now you can see my microphone static. It's a bottle of water.
Very nice.
It works very well. It's standing on a blanket, so there's no, and then it's 10 liters of water. It's low budget, but it's very effective.
You're a true farmer, Jonas.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm gonna get off, and I'm just very grateful to be able to come here and talk about this.
Yeah, and say hello to your husband. He can call me, and we can talk about his hobbies.
I would like
opinions in this planet, but at least Kim Asadourian is no longer one of Jehovah Witnesses. So, thank you for watching. Thank you for the super chats, and see you in paradise.